Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to make one of these. Okay, everybody's got one. Well, I guess almost everybody's got one, and it's easy to take a look at and try to model while you're working with Maya, right? So you can constantly take a look and see how your fingers look and the rest of your hand and stuff. Um, Now it's been a while since I've done soft surface modeling, and if you don't practice enough, you start to lose things after a while. So I'm not exactly. This isn't my best hand, I guess I've ever made, but it's it's going to be good enough for what we're going to do now. We're going to go through the process of modeling the hand. We'll go through texturing right now. This particular surface on it is just a material. There's no texturing done to it yet, and same with the nails. And then once we get all that done, we're going to go ahead and rig it and learn to do a little bit of moving it, so animating it a little bit inside of all of this will be done inside of Maya. The texturing will take it out and put it into something like Quixel probably, and texture it, and then put it back into Maya. So that's going to be several videos. I'm not sure how many, but the first one we're going to work on is actually modeling the hand itself. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started doing that. Okay, and now what we've got is Maya opened up here, and you can see some past projects here. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to create a new project. Okay, so I'm going to go into new blank project. I'm going to go up here to File. We're going to go to Project Window, and in Project Window, we're going to give this a name. So I'm going to click New for the name. And this will be my hand project. And I'm going to call mine Demo. You don't have to. And my year that I'm doing this, I'm going to leave everything else default here. We're going to accept that. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead, go down, set my project just to double check to make sure that my project is in the right spot. And it's going to be this one right here. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and just save my scene as, and I'm just going to go ahead and call this hand. Okay. All right, so now everything's all set up. If I hit Control S from here on out, I can save it without any issues. Okay, so one of the things I'm not going to need open right now is my big attribute editor. As you can see, I'm using Maya Classic for my screen setup. And I haven't done any other modifications to it. And my outliner is open, and it's probably a little wider than it needs to be. But over here, I'm just going to click on the Attribute Editor tab and shrink that down, make everything a little bit larger. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and with my x-axis facing forward here, I am going to go into my poly modeling, and I'm going to bring up a cube. Okay, and this cube has no subdivisions in it. Mine is just a simple flat cube so that I can start and add the subdivisions the way I want to do them myself. Okay, and let's see here. Okay, so if you do have subdivisions, what we're going to do is get rid of them. Okay, and one easy way to do that is you with it selected, if you do go to our attribute editor, go to polycube 1. Here you can change your subdivisions down to 1, 1, and 1 so that there aren't any in there. Or if you had, before you open this up, if you double click on it, you can also get the subdivisions the same way. Okay. So now we don't need that again. I'm going to go ahead and shut that back down. I'm going to select it. I'm going to hit R on my keyboard, which is the scale tool. And the scale tool is this one over here on the left-hand side. And now what I'm going to do is if I look at it, you can see my gizmo has some squares on the end of some lines. And then there's also these little squares kind of floating off in the distance here by themselves, different colors, blue, red, and green. All right, so I'm going to kind of position myself so I can see the one square down at the bottom. And I'm going to pull it out this way. And what that does is it scales it on that one axis right here, okay? Which is on my X and Z axis. It's in that plane. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab the red one, make it a little bit bigger this way, a bit bigger this way. And I am going to go ahead and scale it up and just thicker this way. All right. That gets me kind of started for the palm of my hand. It may be a little bit bigger than I want it to be this direction, so I'm going to narrow it down just a little bit. And as we start to shape this, we'll kind of come up with the dimensions as we move along. So now I know that I have 4 fingers across here, and my thumb is going to actually be extruded out from this direction on this side over here. So with that in mind, I'm going to need 1, 2, 3 subdivisions put in here. So if I hold down the shift button, right mouse button click, my insert edge loop pops up. I'm going to select the little option box, and the option box brings up this menu, okay? And if I reset the tool, you can see that this is what yours should look like. Now I'm going to select multi-loop, multi-edge loops. I'm going to change it to 3 right here, okay? And I'm going to click on this, and it's going to evenly distribute 3 edge loops across the dimension of my cube here, okay? So now with that done, those are going to be my 4 fingers. They're going to protrude out from here. And then, like I said, my thumb is going to come out from this side over here. I'm not going to put the thumb on right now. We'll come back to that in a little bit because what I want to do is concentrate on bringing out one of the fingers. So I'm going to close this box for right now. Close that tool. And I'm going to hit Q to quit it. Okay, Q quits the tool. See how it went from this edge loop tool in the tool tray back up to my selector tool. And now I have no gizmos out at all. So what I do want to do is I want to right click, go to my face mode, select this face, and I'm going to hit Control E for extrude, okay? And when I do that, a new gizmo pops up. And this gizmo is a multi-function gizmo. It has all of the different extrusion pieces that we could possibly want. We can rotate, we could scale, we can also move. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one at the arrow right here, and I'm going to select it, and I'm going to drag it out so that this creates my pointer finger, okay? And I'm going to try to guess the proper length of my finger in comparison to the length of my hand down here, and I think it's about right there. Now, one thing you got to know, if you accidentally lose this tool, you click off of it and it goes away, and then you click back on it again and you Control E again. Now what you've done is you've created 2 faces on top of each other. You don't want to do that. If that happens, just hit Control Z, okay, to get rid of that selection, and then Control Z a couple times until the selection goes away. Select it again and try extruding it again. That's where you end up with a lot of problems, is if you extrude and you lose the tool and you extrude again and you extrude again, you can end up with multiple faces right on top of each other, and that's going to cause some issues later on when you're continuing to model this, okay? All right, so now we've got our first finger set up, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to model the one finger, okay? And anything we do to this finger is going to be carried over to the dimensions on this so that later on we can duplicate this finger and put it into these different positions here, okay? All right, so the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to go ahead and start trying to shape this finger and put in some joints, shape the fingernail as well, okay? So let's go ahead and work on getting that fingernail set up. I put in some edge loops in here, kind of shaped it to be the dimensions that I want it to be. And let's go ahead and kind of get that going here. Right click, I'm going to go to object mode, hold down shift, right click. I'm going to go back to my option box for my insert edge loop tool. And now I'm going to switch back on relative distance. This allows me to control where the extrusions go, and I can control them in that manner, okay? So now I can just click here and drag it and drop it wherever I want it to be, okay? So I'm going to place it right about there. I'm going to move this tool over out of the way. Probably won't need it, but just in case. And so that's kind of a start there for me. And the other thing I'm going to want to do is I want to also put in a couple of cuts this direction. And I'm probably going to go ahead and put in one more of these here. All right. And let's see. So those are probably not going to be far enough back. I'm going to hit Q to quit. I'm going to hold the shift button and double click on this other one. So now they're both selected yellow. I'm going to hit W and I'll pull these back just a little bit until I get about the position where I want it to be. About the length of what a nail, you know, the surface of the nail on your finger should look like. Okay? We just did it. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in so that it's right there. Okay? Right along the top. I also know I'm going to want to put one in down here around the middle because later on I'm going to shape the finger. And that'll get us started. Okay, so now that we've got those, we're going to go ahead and put in a couple of vertical ones this way, towards the edge here. And another one this direction, towards the edge here. Okay. And that will get us started. Okay. Go ahead and hit Q to quit. Now what I want to do is I'm going to select face, the face mode right here. Right click and go to face. Select that and I'm going to hit Control E for extrude. So Control E to extrude. And I'm going to push this down a little bit. Okay. See what that looks like. Something right about there. You can see that it's about halfway down through there. Now what's happened is that it's left this kind of weird double face right here because I pushed it down on this side. So we're gonna have to fix that, okay? So I'm gonna hit Q to quit the tool. I'm gonna select the face on the front. I'm gonna delete that face and then that's gonna leave this face back here as well. So I'm gonna select that face. I'm gonna click it and delete it. And now we need to fix this area here, and we're also going to have to do something with this N-gon that we just created, okay? So this is 5 sides right here. Remember we talked with Maya, we want to make sure that we only have objects that have no more than 4 sides on them. So faces can only have 4 sides at the most. This actually has 5, even though you look at it, it's like, there's only 4. But right here, there's going to be this little vertice right there. If I go to vertex, you can see there's this vertex right there that we're going to have to do something with, okay? So we'll take care of that here in just a second. Let's go ahead and go to right click. I'm going to go to edge. I'm going to select these 2 edges, okay, by holding the shift key and select the bottom and the top one. And then I'm going to click the little bridge tool right here at the top, okay? And we're going to select that. So now we've got this beginning of our nail bed. Like I said, we need to fix this piece right here. So what we can do is we can take a 5-sided object and turn it into a 4-sided and 3-sided. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to right click. I'm going to go to vertex so I can see where these vertices are. And then right here, I'm going to select this cut tool. Okay, multi-cut tool. Select it. I'm going to select the little vertice that's hanging out there by itself. And then I'm going to select it down here, but you see I can't do that because it's not actually connected. So I'm going to Control Z, undo that. I'm going to select the vertice that's right there, and then I'm going to go close to this one right here, and I'm going to select close to it, right underneath it if I can. Let's see if it's going to let me do it. There we go. So you got to be on the right side of the line, because right now what we have is we have 2 different lines right here, okay? And I'm going to hit Enter, and we're going to fix that in a second. We'll come back to that. We're going to go over here. We're going to do the same thing since we already have this tool open. I'm going to select this. And then make sure that you're on the side of the line where you can click. And then click it and hit Enter, and that'll set it. I'm going to hit Q to quit that tool. Now what I want to do is I want to take these 2 vertices and I'm going to merge them together. So the way to do that is with this tool right here, this target weld tool. I'm going to select it. I'm going to select the one on the bottom, click on it, and drag it up to the one that's on the top. And now I've connected those 2 together. And just real quick, I'm going to show you what would happen if I don't do this, okay? So let me hit Q to quit this tool real quick. I'm going to select this vertice. We hit W, and if I pull it out, you can see that it's actually created this. We got these two separate lines here, okay? And it would be the same for that one as well. If I select this vertice here, it's going to be not connected, okay? So by selecting the target weld tool and then clicking and dragging it together, now what I've done is I'm going to quit the tool, hit Q to quit, select it, and now you can see that they're all connected together. Okay, so now we fixed that little problem we had right there. All right, so let's take a look and see what we're dealing with so far, okay? And actually, before I do that, I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to face, I'm going to select this front face right here, Control E to extrude. I'm going to extrude it out just a little ways, kind of give myself this nail overhang. And we can come back and adjust that a little bit more later. Hit Q to quit. Now I'm going to hit 3 on my keyboard and kind of see what I'm dealing with here, okay? So this isn't as clean as I want it to be. We're going to have to do some additional things to make it so that this works out a little bit better, but we're getting it close, okay? So 3 makes it smooth like this, and if I hit 1, it goes back to the box shape, okay? All right, so what I want to do is make sure that this doesn't bend as much as it did, okay? And the smooth tool calculates the distance between 2 straight lines and then puts in a curve based off of that distance, okay? And so larger areas have more curve, smaller areas with smaller distances between lines actually have a lesser curve. So we're going to keep that in mind as we start to shape some of this to be the way we want it to be. All right, and one of the things I want this to be a little bit stronger in here. I don't want it to be quite so weak. So going back to my object mode, holding the shift key and selecting my edge loop tool again. Okay, and I'm going to put in an edge loop here so that it goes all the way around. And I think I'm going to put it more towards the top here. We hit Q to quit that tool, and 3. See what that looks like. Looks a little better, okay? But I'm going to have to do something about this section back here as well. So let me hit 1, go back. And I also notice that I want a bend to come up along the top of this as well. So let's go back to our object mode, right click and hold, get our edge loop tool back, and I'm going to put one kind of here in the center so I can pull this up a little bit and get some shaping of the nail. And I'm going to put another edge loop in. Actually, let's see what this looks like. So if I hit 3 while I'm in the edge loop tool, it's going to leave the square box, but we can see what the geometry looks like underneath it, okay? So you can kind of see that outlining there. And that allows me to leave the tool open so I can kind of see what's happening while we're adjusting, while we're still in the tool that we may be using more. Okay, we may be using the edge loop tool more. All right, so kind of got to start here on the nail. Not 100% happy with it yet, but we're going to continue modeling on past this, and some of the things we're going to do to shape the rest of the finger will kind of help with fixing this as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to 1. I'm click 1 on my keyboard, and I also know that I'm going to need to put in some joints, right? So I'm going to put in a joint right here, okay? And that's going to be kind of the center point of that one. And I'm going to put in a total of 5 of these edge loops right here and a total of the 5 edge loops over here, okay, for the second joint. So I'm going to put these kind of like this. Okay. And then I'm also going to put one down here as well. Somewhere around, kind of more towards the middle area, I guess, like this. Take a look at your finger and you can decide where the joints on your finger here should go. All right, now that's the beginnings of the joint we're going to want there. Okay, I'm going to hit Q to quit. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to edge right now. I'm going to select this edge here on the front. Click W. I'm going to pull this out a little bit, kind of like this. If I hit 3 on my keyboard, I can see that what's happening is I'm beginning to shape the front part of my finger. I'm going to just pull this out a little bit more, kind of round it out for the nail here. And as we start to work on rounding the rest of this as well, it'll start to kind of come together a little bit better. Okay. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and do the same thing along the sides here. So I'm going to hit click here, go to the very end here, double click, kind of start to pull that out a little bit like that. Same on this side. And I'm going to go down to here. Okay. All right, hit 1 back on my keyboard. You can kind of see what's happening as we do that. We're getting this kind of shape, beginning to start shaping things. We get more square, but as we start to round them out, we'll start seeing some of this stuff kind of clean up a little bit. Okay. All right. So I'm starting to see that we're going to have to do something with the shape of the top of the finger, but let's go ahead and focus a little bit on the bottom real quick too. Let's go ahead and pull this out a little bit. Same thing, we're going to start at one end, click here, I'm going to double click here, and I'll pull this down a little bit, kind of start to round the finger out a little bit there. Then across the top, do the same thing. Nail starts to look a little bit better now. Not so weirdly flat. Okay, not really happy with this right along here. We're gonna have to fix this section right here. So let's go ahead and go back to one and see what it is causing that problem. And that was that edge loop that I ran all the way around here to kind of control the way this rolls over. Not really liking that. So we're going to double click on that. It's going to select it all the way around. And I'm going to hit control, hold the control button down. Now, when you delete edges, if you don't do this, you're going to leave behind basically vertices that no longer have an edge connected to them. We don't want that, okay? So you hold the control button down and hit delete. And that'll get rid of both the edge and the vertices, okay? Now, when we do that, and if we hit 3 again, you're going to see we kind of get this shape back that I really don't want for around this section right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the cut tool, and we're going to cut that in, okay? And that'll allow us to also adjust this shape along the top here separately. So we hit 1 again, okay? And come back and fix that in a minute. Let's go ahead and get the cut tool, okay? And I'm going to right click and go to vertex so I can kind of see where my vertices are and what I might have choices to work with. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here on this outer one right here, okay? So I'm going to click that one. I'm going to come down here, and let's try this again. Get my cut tool. Select that. Select here. Select here in this corner. Here. We can always come back and adjust these. Over here. That corner there. Down here. And then I'm going to cut this back up to the top here. All right, so what we've done is we've created another triangle. So this is a four-sided. This is a triangle here. But yet all of these are the correct geometry, okay? So we're going to hit Enter. We're going to set that. I'm going to hit Q to quit. And let's see what that's done, okay? Because what I want to do is I wanted to protect this in here so that when I hit the 3 button, it still maintains a nice kind of solid curve right in here for around the nail bed, but also prevented this from going all the way around. We didn't need to have that extra geometry out there anyway, so it's probably a better approach. All right, so now let's go ahead and try to smooth this section out a little bit right here for the finger. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Edge. Let's see here. Let's hit 1. Select that, and this all the way down to here. So double click. Go back to 3 on my keyboard, and I'm going to hit W. And I'm going to use this little section right here to kind of start moving this around a little bit. And I may need to pull it out because I don't want to flatten this out too much right in here by going in. And I'm going to do the same thing underneath that. So I'm going to double click down here. I'm going to start to shape that area right in there so that this looks a little bit more natural. Okay? And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Okay? And go ahead and go back to 1 on my keyboard, select all the way down. And I'm going to select all the way down to the end down here. This is actually going to probably get covered up anyway, but we might as well just deal with smoothing it out now, and then later on we can make adjustments. So I'm going to select that one, hit 3 on my keyboard so I can see what I'm working with. Again, I'm going to push it downward a little bit and kind of pull it out just a little bit, and then select here all the way down to here by double clicking and grabbing that plane there. Kind of playing around with that a little bit until I get the shape I want. Okay, so our fingers beginning to come together. The next thing we need to do is we need to work on these joints right here. Okay, and probably smooth this shape out down along the bottom here as well. We'll do that first. So we hit 1 again. It's the same issues we had with the other one, except a little less troublesome, I think. Okay, so I'm going to double click all along that line there. I'm just going to go ahead and go back to 3 and kind of play around with this until I get the shape that I want for the finger. Actually, it seems like pulling it up and out just a little bit helped. Okay. And here, kind of up and out a little bit to round that out. Okay, so now it's beginning to look a little bit more like a finger. Okay, so that's good. All right, so let's go ahead and hit 1 on the keyboard. Yeah. And I'm going to go back in from the top view. And at the very first set where I put those 5 in here, what we're going to do is we're going to put a cut in, okay, starting from the center one. And we're going to kind of do this radial cut thing. And then we'll make some adjustments down under here so we can kind of pull it up a little bit and give us a kind of a joint, okay? So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to use a cut tool. I'm going to right click, go to vertex, get my cut tool, select the center line here. I'm going to select the outer one on the top right here, and then I'm going to click on this one, click on this one again here. So what I'm kind of doing is I'm just kind of making this diamond, or I guess a kind of a diamond shape. all the way around. I'm going to hit enter and lock that one in. And now I'm going to go again, starting with the outer one. This time I'm going to go to the outer section there. Go back to this one here. Make sure you're getting the highlight of the vertex. Oh, I messed that up. All right, so let me try that again because I realized I didn't get the right order there. Yeah, no, I was right. There, here, and back to here. And if you don't get it, you can always Control Z, hit enter, lock it down. Okay, now this time we're going to go to the outside ones. Okay, hit enter, lock it down. Right. Do the same for this one. Hopefully I don't have to do this multiple times. All right, and looks like I've got extra ones right there. All right, so I do. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Q to quit that. What I want is I wanted these to line up right here in the middle. And it looks like I missed them. So we can always fix that by using our target weld. Target weld to there. Target weld this one up to here. Okay. See if I've got any others messed up. All right, those look okay. These look okay. All right, good. So now with that done, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and quit the tool, hit 3 on my keyboard, see what that looks like. It's beginning to kind of already give me that kind of wrinkle I want in there, but what I really want to do is I want to raise that section up a little bit. We're going to kind of bring these in here so we can indent them up a little bit and in a little bit to create the indent for our joints around our fingers, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Hit 1 back on the keyboard. I'm gonna right click, select face. Okay, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Now if you hold the tab button down, what we're gonna do is we're going to select these sections inside the diamond. So I'm gonna hold the tab down, left mouse button click, and you can just hold it and drag it around to highlight the sections that you want. We're gonna get all those. And then once you have them highlighted, we hit W on my keyboard and just kind of drag those up a little bit. Do the same back here. Hold the tab button down. Okay. Just going to raise them up just a little bit. Hit 3 on my keyboard and kind of see what that's looking like. Okay. So it's giving me a little bit of that kind of wrinkles where our fingers kind of bend there on the top of the knuckles. And I think that's probably going to look all right. Can always come back and play around with them, move things around just a little bit. So I'm going to hit 1 back on my keyboard. Now I'm going to come down here, right click, vertex. And what I want to do is I'm going to kind of bring these so that there's only 3 of them left here because we don't need all this extra geometry and it's going to kind of make it a little harder to clean it up the way we want to. So I'm going to click on the outer one and drag it to that inner one, outer one to the inner one. I'm going to leave the one in the middle. Okay, and I'm going to do that on all these. Until we get around to the other side equal to where we just started. that was it. Yep. All right, so now we got that. We're going to do the same thing for the front one up here. Okay, we're going to go drag it here. The reason why I'm leaving 3 of them is I still want to have kind of a control to be able to create this kind of tight indentation, okay? And for where the finger joint is going to be. So now with that done, I'm going to quit the tool. I'm going to go to my edge tool, and I'm going to select this one here, so kind of in the middle range there. Go to the other side and select, hold the shift button, double click. So now I've got it selected all the way around. Okay. And I'm going to hit R on my keyboard. I'm going to indent just a little bit by grabbing the outside one. Okay. And now I'm going to hit W, and I'm going to pull up just a little bit and indent on the bottom. And actually, I'm going to Control Z, undo that. I'm going to deselect this one here, this one here, and go ahead and dent those up a little bit. Okay. Now, if I hit 3 again on the keyboard, we can kind of see what that's doing. I've got a little bit of an indent. I think I want it to go a little bit more. I'm going to pull it up like that. Okay. So now with that, we're going to repeat that same process over here on the back one. I'm not going to talk you through it. I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and you can follow along. All right, so that finishes up all of that for our finger. And what I'm going to do is hit 1 back on the keyboard. Okay, so now we've got this finger created. What we need to do is we're going to duplicate it, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick here. What I'm going to do in order to do this is have to cut it off of here, okay? So we've got to cut this finger off, and then we're going to set it up so that the finger will match up here, okay? Now, one of the things we know is that we've created some additional lines here that are not over here right now, and that's this line here and this line here. So we're going to need to put in some edge loops across these 3 to match those, and that's on top and bottom. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so I'm going to right click and go to object mode. I'm going to hold the shift button down, right click, and it's not there, so I'm going to hit Q to quit my tool again. Hold the shift button down, right click, there we go. And now I'm going to go ahead and put in one kind of here and here and here, here, and on the outer edge. Okay. All right. Okay, next I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in an edge loop temporarily here, and we'll end up deleting this later on. But I'm going to just kind of select it right there. Okay. Hit Q to quit my tool, right click, go to face. hover over this face that's in between those two lines I just created. Double click. Try that again. All right. I'm sorry. Hold it there. Hold the shift button and double click on the one next to it. There we go. All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and hit delete and delete that out of the middle. And now what we're going to do is we're going to separate this finger from the rest of the hand, which right now is just a square box. Okay, so we're going to do that by going up to Mesh, select Separate. Oh, actually, we got to go to Object Mode. Try that again. So make sure you have it in Object Mode, Mesh, and we're going to separate. Okay, and now we have over here, you'll see that we have this P cube that was created, polysurface 1 and a polysurface 2. We can select on polysurface 2. Okay, and I'm going to double click on polysurface 2. It'll end up changing on it later on anyway, but we're going to name this finger real quick. Okay, just to keep track of what it is. And now I'm going to go ahead with it selected, and I'm going to duplicate it. So Control D to duplicate, W, and we can pull one off. I'm going to pull it over here for right now. Control D to duplicate again. So now we have 3 fingers. Control D, we have 4 fingers. And Control D one more time. I'm going to pull this one over here out of the way for right now. This is going to be our thumb later on, and we'll have to play around with that to get it to work. All right, so now we've got these 4 separate entities that are going to be our fingers. They're clearly much bigger than our current hand. It looks like we'll have to make some adjustments as we move along. But what we need to do is, with them all laid out next to each other, we need to start kind of scaling them to the right length and width of what we want it to be. So for the most part, if you take a look at your hand, you'll see that your pointer finger, middle finger, and your ring finger, index finger are about the same diameter, okay? It's your pinky finger and your thumb that are, and your thumb's actually not too far off from your other fingers anyway, but the pinky is definitely a smaller diameter. So with that in mind, what we're going to do is we're going to scale these off of this finger right here. So this is our pointer finger, and our middle finger right here, I'm going to hit R, and we can see that our scale tool is all the way down here. So what we need to do to fix that is go up to Modify, and we're going to center pivot, okay? And we're going to do that for each of these. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just make this longer, okay? And I'm going to hit W, pull it up a little bit so it's lined up, just to kind of get a feel for how much longer it is, okay? And that feels pretty close. I'm going to scoot it over just a little bit, okay? Now we're going to do the same thing for this finger. This finger is only slightly longer than this finger over here, so we need to go to Modify, Center Pivot, R, and I'm just going to go a little bit bigger, something like that. And it's not quite right yet. It needs to be about halfway. I think it's going to be halfway between these two. So like that. Okay. And now the next thing we need to do is the pinky. Okay. We're going to go ahead and select it. We're going to center pivot. And what we want to do with this is not only shrink it down in diameter, but also a little bit shorter in length. It comes up to be about the length of it. The end of it should probably be somewhere right around this upper joint that we have set up right here. That might be a little bit off, and I'm beginning to wonder if the diameter on those are about right too. All right, so let's go ahead and select it, hit R on the keyboard, and I am going to first make this skinnier by selecting this outer piece right here. Okay, I'm going to shrink it down so that it's definitely skinnier, and then I'm going to shorten it a little bit. So something about that. Okay. Okay. Now we've got all of those kind of set up. I'm going to move them a little bit closer together. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these first two. Actually, let's do this instead. Let's get these fingers positioned so that they're about the right distance apart. We have this weird thing going on down here, but we'll get that fixed. So let's select these fingers, and then we'll get the hand kind of where we want it to be. All right. So with that, now what we need to do is we're going to select the hand, and we're going to scale the hand up just a little bit. So that everything will line up correctly. We may need to play around with some of these edges here. And I think that's what we're going to do. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to have this kind of thin line in between so we can kind of play around with the webbing between the fingers, okay? So this one, I'm going to leave it the way it is. And I'm going to go ahead and shift right click. I'm going to insert edge loop tool again. I'm going to put in another line right there. And one right there. Here. Here. Oop, it's the wrong spot. And towards the edge here. Actually, no, I don't need one towards the edge. Okay, so I'm going to quit that. Right click, go to vertices, and this is where it's going to get kind of tricky because what I need to do is grab these vertices here, and it's kind of hard to see them all. And I also want to select I want to select this vertex here, so I'm going to hold the shift button and that one in the middle, that one in the middle, and marquee select those there. And do the same here. The only one I'm not selecting these two outer ones. So I want to select those, and those. Okay. All right, good to go. So now I'm going to hit W, pull this off to the side, and start to kind of stretch things over. I'm going to line that up. And that may be too much. All right, so I'm going to line that up so that it's set up against my fingers there. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a marquee select down to here and just select those. I got the ones I don't want. Let's try that again. Just those. All right. So now I've got those. Move it over. So it's lined up. These two are kind of lined up towards the edge there. Do the same here. And here. All right. So now I should be able to start connecting these fingers back together with one real quick exception. I need to start deleting out these faces in the middle here that I don't need anymore. And I also see that I failed to put one in the middle. So now that I have these lined up, I need to put additional setup here in the middle. And it looks like I may need to move that finger over just a little bit. It's too much. So I'm going to pull that one over, grab this finger, line that up like that. That's better. Okay. So let's go ahead and get one more edge loop in here on each one of these sections here. So this needs to line up for the center of the finger. All right. Right click, go to object mode, select the hand piece, hit control 1, and it's going to hide everything that we don't want. Okay. And now what we want to do is, and I know this area right here is kind of big for that skin area between our fingers, but we'll fix that. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go to face. I'm going to select, actually hit Q to quit the edge loop tool. Let's go to face. And we're going to select these faces here. Delete them. These faces here. Delete them. And these faces here. And actually this, let me see, do we want those? This here. Yeah, we'll leave that for now. We'll come back. Okay. And I can see that I got overzealous. I selected one that I don't want to delete. That's why holding the tab button would probably be a better idea. All right, so we're going to go ahead and delete that. Okay. Now hit control 1 again. Bring all my fingers back. What I'm going to do first for this fingers here, since these should still be lined up correctly, is I'm going to right click, go to edge, double click that edge right there for where I cut that finger off from, hold my shift button, and I can't do that yet. We got to actually make it so that these are part of the same pieces. So I'm going to right click, go to object mode, select it, select each of the fingers except for this thumb, leave this piece alone because that's going to be our thumb. Now we got them all selected. We're going to go to mesh, and we're going to combine them. So now they're all one piece again. As far as Maya is concerned, you can see that they're all over here. We've got this one Molly surface. Okay, with the poly surface selected, I'm going to go to edit, delete by type, history, and it's going to just drop everything down except for that one finger that we have laying out there. I'm going to go to File, Save Scene, so I don't lose any of my work. I'm going to go right back to Edge Loop, and again, double-click on that edge, and then hold Shift, and double-click on that edge. And what we're going to do is we're going to bridge it, okay? It's a little bit off-center, but we'll get that fixed here in a second. I'm going to select the bridge, and we'll bridge it. Okay. And everything's together. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to right click, go to object mode, and okay, yeah, I see. Okay, it's a little bit clear there. Right click, go back to vertex, and I'm going to go ahead and go through and combine these. Select the target weld tool and start popping these together just like this. Okay, yeah, so I needed to delete that additional face in here. Didn't have it exposed correctly. I ended up folding stuff over. So let's go ahead and go back in again. You just got to kind of watch for that type of stuff as you're moving along. Okay. And it's probably going to be the same situation here. So here, that one should go there. That one should go there. That one, yeah. So quit the tool, select. And delete that. All right. So that's the one finger. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and make the connections for the rest of these. I may have to adjust things and move things around. You may have to look for that as well, just to get things to line up correctly. And so that may mean you have to uncombine or separate and then recombine the different pieces together. But as you move along, you should be able to make that decision and see that. And then at the end, I'll show you what I have. And yeah. Okay, so now we've got the fingers attached, and I went ahead and hit 3 to kind of see what it looks like. And truthfully, it looks rather scary, but we've got our fingers on here. We do need to go in and work on a couple little things with our vertices right down in this area here, and get this kind of straightened out right in here for the webbing section of our fingers. Kind of center this back in there. Get everything kind of lined up. And we also need to get the thumb added on. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on that. Hit 1 on my keyboard. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to go in and I'm going to select this section right in here. So I'm going to go to my vertices. And this edge, actually I'm going to go right click, I'm going to go to edge. I'm going to select this kind of center edge. It should be the center right here. Okay. And it's kind of doing some funky stuff. I'm going to go ahead and once I double click on the top one, then I'm going to select these individual ones down here. Okay. Hit W on my keyboard. I'm going to slide it kind of over so it's more in the center. And this vertice right down in here in this corner. I'll pull this out a little bit, kind of square this up or round this out just a little bit for this finger. Okay. And then this vertice, I'm going to pull it straight up just like this a little bit. Reshaping things here. I hit 3 on my keyboard. You can see what's happening here as we're beginning to pull this section out just a little bit. And we'll come back and do more with that later. All right, so that's what we're going to do for these other 2 spots here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it real quick. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so that didn't actually, don't actually have a third one in there. This one. Okay. So we're going to put in a third one right here. And this one actually is the same as that one, so we're going to pull that one over a little bit. And that's not working out so well because I just crossed those lines. We don't want to do that. Distance isn't so good. So what we're going to do instead is grab here and here, double click and move those this way. Pull it out a little bit. And then right here, we grab that vertice down in that corner. Do that. Do that here. right click, go to object mode, shift, right click, edge loop. Edge loop in there. Hit Q to quit the tool. And then I'm just going to grab that vertex. And we'll play around with that a little bit more later. Okay. So we got that started. Let's go ahead and make the attachment point for our thumb. First, let's go ahead and not do what I just did. Go to object mode, select this object. We're going to go to modify center pivot. Going to go to E. We're going to rotate it. Kind of like that a little bit, and kind of like this a little bit. Okay. Why did it do that? Okay, so let's there we go. That's the reason why. Let's go ahead and edit. Go back here, select the cube one here in the outliner, go to edit, delete by type history, actually edit, ungroup, edit, delete by type history. Okay. There we go. Now we can rotate it without it being all crushed. Okay, and we're going to have to, again, scale it. We'll do that here in a second once we set it up against the side of our object here for our hand. Let's go ahead and hit 1 on our keyboard. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to extrude out a section where we're going to put that hand, where we're going to put the thumb. Okay. And I think what I'm going to want to do first is go to face, do a marquee select of the back section here. So we have all this highlighted. Hit R. I'm going to kind of just fatten this up just a little bit. It's going to kind of mess things up. Over there, more than I anticipated. Oh, I see why. All right, so remember way back when we cut this thumb off, what I forgot to do was to delete that edge loop back out of there. So right click, go to edge, I'm going to double click on that edge loop we put in there. Control delete to delete it. And that's why we had this extra section in there, is because we were able to slide that over. So select that, hit W. Yeah, we gotta fix this. All right. Apparently I forgot to do something here, which was a bad thing to do. And now I folded things in on itself. That's okay, we can get this fixed. Let's see where I made this mistake at here. It's this vertex. Is that it right there? Okay. And we'll come back. Got to remember to put another edge loop in here. And we'll come back to that. All right, I was going to fatten the hand up a little bit here to make it so that the thumb looked a little bit better, but I think instead of doing it that way, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and not fatten that up right now. We're going to just create an edge loop back here, connect the thumb into this section here once we extrude it. So I'm going to right click, go to object mode, hold down the shift, right click, select insert edge loop, and right about here is where I want to put the first edge loop. Actually, that's probably going to be the only edge loop I put for this so far. Hit Q to quit. Right click, go to face. I'm going to select, hit Q to quit. Come on. Go to face. Okay, why are you not quitting? All right. Don't know what's going on there. There we go. Can't even seem to hit the right buttons now. All right, so with those selected, Control E. Extrude this out a little bit. Down. Okay. Hit Q to quit. All right, so apparently my Q to quit tool has stopped working, so we'll just move on. Click on that right there. Right click, object mode. Hold the shift button down, select the insert edge loop tool. I'm going to put an edge loop in right there. Right click, face, quit the edge loop tool, select these two faces, hit delete. Okay. Now I'm going to have to do a little bit of work to make it so that these will line up correctly. Alright, so my keys seem to have stopped working. That's nice. Pull this over. And I think I may have cut those faces off a little prematurely. So we're going to Control Z. Put those back. Select these two faces again. Since I've already extruded, I don't need to extrude. I can just pull on those two faces. Okay, so I need to see. This is going to be the one that lines up here. All right, we're also going to need to prepare this tool here. Go to face mode. We only need the one joint right here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this section off. And probably, so go to object mode, edge loop tool right here, cut it there. Quit, right face, select all of this. That's right, my quit tool is not working. The Q key is not working now. Okay, so I can see that what I've done is I've kind of caused a little bit of an issue for myself with this thumb. And the number of alignments that I have here to the number of alignments I have here don't line up. So in other words, the subdivisions or the divisions here of my edge loops, I have 6 vertices. And over here I have, I believe, 13. So what I need to do is I need to add some additional geometry onto this section here for where the thumb's going to connect so that I can get everything to kind of line up the way I want it to. And that is possibly going to create a lot of ugliness that we're going to have to fix. It may have been better to have actually just extruded the thumb out of the side and then kind of modeled some of the front pieces here. I was hoping by doing this we could save some time with the fingers, but I can see now that that may not be the case. So one thing I am going to do is I am going to select this thumb here, and I'm going to scale it down just a little bit, I think. Not too crazy though, because it's, you know, it is kind of a wider finger than some of the other ones, just by a little bit. Okay, so now with that, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and try to match the geometry. So I'm going to select back over here. I'm going to hold the shift key, right select, insert edge loop, and I think since I know I'm going to need at least 6 more, I'm going to go to my edge loops here. I'm going to put 6 here. Just throw them down in here. Okay. And then I'm going to go to relative edge. And I'm going to put one down here. And see how that lines up. Okay. So I'm going to quit that tool. Select the selector tool here since I can't seem to use my keyboard shortcuts. Get rid of that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the thumb sitting out at this point here, and I'm going to click and drag these target welds all the way over to here. But first, I need to go to face. I'm going to select these faces here. Hold the tab key down. Select these. Delete those. All right, and now I'm going to start lining things up. Object mode. Select both of these. Go to mesh. Combine them together. Now go to vertex and target weld and start lining these up. So I'm going to pick this middle one here. Go there, I think. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and put several into the same spot to help build that web out. Actually, this one right here needs to go there too. Okay. All right, and then start to put these up here. Okay. Now I've got 2 extra, which I'm going to quit this tool, go to edge, double select that one. And that's not going to work. Yeah, this would have been where I would have deleted those, but since I've got them connected down to bottom, we're going to just connect them for right now and come up with a cleaner solution later. Nice job, put it in the wrong spot. There we go. All right. So now the thumb is connected. I hit 3, I'm going to quit that tool. Definitely got some work to do at shaping, but we've got the initial beginnings of our hand. Okay, so that's going to be it for this video. We've got all of our fingers and our thumb, and we have the general shape of the palm. Next video, we're going to go ahead and start fleshing it out, making it look more like a hand. We'll also do an extension and create the wrist for it as well. So if you liked what you saw, please like the video, and also think about checking out my YouTube channel, Putting on the Fritz 3D Visualization, and subscribing to my channel. I'll see you next time.